Hi there and welcome back to my channel. In this video I will be talking about everything I knitted in 2023. I was really hesitant about recording this video because 2023 wasn't the most successful knitting year for me, and I'm happy that I still do love knitting at all. I entered 2023 with a lot of dreams and plans and hopes. I was really looking forward to trying out new techniques, fits, colors, exploring smaller designers and self-drafting things myself. And looking back, I could say I did all of that, but it just didn't work as I hoped it would. In total, I finished 23 projects, 14 garments and 9 accessories, and 10 of all the projects I consider to be rather disappointing. So let's talk about all of my projects, and I suggest we start from the very beginning. The first project of the year for me was the zipper sweater by Lepal, knitted in Hobby Friends wool in the colors 01 and 40. I was really looking forward to this sweater, but unfortunately it was a flop and I don't own this sweater anymore. There were few issues with this sweater, mainly concerning the fit of it. First of all, it turned out to be shorter than I wanted because of the row gauge difference. Second of all, the sleeves were too wide, but it was actually design features that I wasn't able to see on the pictures. Because it wasn't test knitted and it was a fairly new design, I wasn't able to see any other versions of this sweater. There were only one version posted by the designer herself. The third issue is that the double knitted collar was smaller than my neck, so when I was zipping it up, it was suffocating me, which wasn't the best experience ever. And the last issue, because of the difference in row gauge, at the point my zipper ended, there were a change in stripe colors, and basically the end of my zipper was visible from the white stripe of my sweater. When I was trying to fix that and sew my zipper with a different thread, the light thread, I accidentally cut the wrong thread and I ended up with the hole in the middle of my sweater. The only way for me to fix that was to unravel it a tiny bit and close it again with the Kitchener stitch. I did that. It worked, but for me it was still visible and it wasn't the neatest, and it was actually very disappointing to have been working on this sweater for such a long time and just cutting the wrong thread. So yeah, not the best start of the year. I ended up gifting this sweater to my friend and I hope she'll like this sweater more than I do. The next project was sleeves or a bolero or a shrug, self-drafted by me. At that time of the year it was really popular and it was all over the TikTok, so I got really inspired. I decided to self-draft it because I was really eager to try and do something fully myself. I repurposed the yarn for it. From the shirts I knitted the year before, I was using West Yorkshire spinners, the Croft Shetland Aran in the color voxter and isager soft silk mohair in the color 34. It is a very lovely yarn and I enjoyed it a lot, but it was also a flop. It just didn't work out. Everything was good with my self-drafting skills and the piece itself was exactly as I wanted, but I realized that sleeves or a shrug is not really a practical piece for me, and I was really struggling with finding a good way to style it, especially outside. And then it was also black. At that point I started to realize that I don't really love wearing black and I stopped wearing it at all now, so I just wasn't feeling comfortable in this piece. I ended up unraveling and repurposing this yarn for a different project, the last project of the year that I will be talking about later in this video. The next project was a pair of mittens. I also self-drafted them. It was a success. I love this project. I actually wear these mittens all the time. They're really comfortable and they're really beautiful. I used Sandnes garn cos in the color 1012 and sysleriget fat mohair in the color soft petals. Both of these yarns were leftovers from my previous projects, but they worked out really pretty. I really love this shade of sysleriget fat mohair. I will put my pattern notes on Ravelry, so in case you would like to have the same pair of mittens, feel free to check the Ravelry project page. The only thing I would change in these mittens, I would make the cuff a little bit longer, because sometimes when I'm wearing them and I pull my arms, I end up with uncovered part of my wrists, which is not really cool when it's cold outside. But other than that, they're a very lovely pair of mittens. The next project was a test knit for Janet from New Wave Knitting. It was this short staple beanie. I don't wear it, but I can't say it is a flop. I just realized that I don't like beanies at all. The yarn I used was 2 strands of filcolana arwetta in the color 138 and 1 strand of filcolana tilia in the color 218. So it is a nice red beanie. The most exciting part of this project was that I was using made-to-measure pattern for the first time. All of the pattern Janet is creating are made to measure, which means that you can use your own measurements and the desired gauge to create a pattern for yourself that will fit you perfectly. This is really cool, isn't it? And Janet is actually making it super easy for you to do, because she has a calculator in her patterns and you just input all the numbers and you get the math done by yourself, which is really awesome. And I'm actually quite sad that I don't wear this beanie, and because it is a short staple beanie, it's quite short and no one else wants it either, so I'm not sure what to do with it. Sometimes I put it on and I think it's not that bad, but what is putting me off is that this is a red beanie, and I actually did a lot of red projects this year, but at some point I realized that red doesn't really work for me. I have acne and basically my life is divided in 2 parts at this moment. I either in an active phase of acne and I have a lot of red pimples, or I'm in a phase of active treatment and my skin is just red from all of the treatment I'm going through, and red can really highlight it and make me feel really self-conscious and uncomfortable. So red just doesn't really work for me at this point of my life, which is really sad because it is a very trendy and pretty color, but it is what it is. And the next one is actually really fun, and it was very fun to make. It is a Lonely Leftovers vest by Wool & Beyond. For this project I used my scraps only. It was a lot of scraps and it's actually quite a heavy project considering that it's just a vest. This one has a very lovely construction. It's knitted in garter stitch. It has this pretty Wool & Beyond signature block. I really tried to make a beautiful gradient and it didn't work out perfectly, but I think it still looks quite pretty. It was a fun project, really lovely, great result. The only issue with it is that I might have knitted a double knitted edge too tight, so the vest didn't block out properly and it's quite short, but if I want to remake it, I need to dedicate a lot of effort and time, because as you can see, it's quite impressive lengths of the double knitted edge, so it does take a lot of time. But maybe at some point I will find time and desire to do so. Moving on to the next project, we have cardigan number 8 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. Knitted in isager aran tweed in the color sand and filcolana alva in the color marzipan. Probably my most worn piece this year. The yarn combination is actually really lovely, even though it's not soft, it's quite rustic, but it was my first time using a strand of lace weight alpaca instead of the mohair, and I'm pretty happy with the result, even though it's probably one of my most worn knitted pieces this year. I don't really like it. I think calling it a flop will be misleading, because it's not really a flop, but the fit is really weird. I always have problems with sizes in My Favorite Things knitwear patterns, but the issue in this case is that this cardigan is just really wide. I had to input an elastic in the bind off edge of the body just because it was flaring so much. It was not staying in place, and it was not because my Italian bind off was floppy. It was because it was just too wide, and it's still too wide. I also chose the buttons that are too big for this cardigan. Also, the sleeves are really long. Just really long and uncomfortable. And I'm still not sure what to do with this piece, because the yarn is really pretty. So I'm very tempted to reknit the whole thing in a smaller size, or modify it to my desired measurements, make it a little bit longer for the body and slimmer for the body, make the sleeves a little bit shorter, pick up smaller buttons. The thing is, sometimes I put this cardigan on and I'm absolutely in love with it. I think it looks really pretty, and the long sleeves don't really matter. I can just tolerate it, and it actually corresponds well with the overall oversized fit of this piece. And I'm like, why am I so negative about it? It looks good, just wear it and everything will be fine. But then I look at it and I'm like, no, it's actually not the right size for me. It's actually too big and I can make it better. So these are my two personalities in regard to this cardigan. I think that I will end up reknitting it at some point. I just don't know when for now, but I will do it. At some point I will do it. And the next piece was Basic Bra by Naked Knit. As you can see, there are a lot of designers I have been buying patterns from this year. This is my basic bra. Turned out really lovely. I used 2 strands of compatible cashmere from Knitting for Olive in a color Nordic Beach. It was my first time using cashmere. Was really surprised that compatible cashmere is a lace weight yarn, because I was sure it was more like a cashmere version of the merino wool, but no, it's a lace weight yarn, so I had to hold it double to make this bralette. I also ran out of yarn and made straps in a different color of the same yarn. Worked out quite fine, I would say, and no one can see it anyways, but this was definitely a success. I wore it a lot as soon as I finished it. Even though the fit is not really perfect, it fits me well enough, and because it is a cashmere, it doesn't cause any irritation on my skin. My skin got a little bit more sensitive in the second half of this year, so sometimes it's not that comfortable anymore for me to wear even cashmere against my skin, but still, I put it occasionally on and feel really happy about making this piece. It just looks really nice, it feels really nice, and I'm very happy I made it this year. The next project was a test knit for Milenapauliina. It is a tekla top, one of my absolute favorite this year. It's knitted again in 2 strands of compatible cashmere by Knitting for Olive in the color navy blue. It is a very relaxed top with ruffles at the bottom, I-cord edges all over it, and also a deep back. It is a really lovely piece. I'm not a fan of summer tops, but I think this is a perfect summer top because it's not very tight fitting. It does have some airflow to it. I was wearing it a lot during our vacation this year, during the summer in Spain. It was really hot, but still I was pretty comfortable wearing this piece. It's not a bra friendly, so you need to wear it without a bra, and I'm fine with it, but if you are not fine with it, you will probably not enjoy wearing this piece. I was also styling it underneath a shirt which looked really pretty and was more appropriate for some occasions, but anyway, my absolute favorite. I'm planning to make another one this year, and I really recommend you to check out Milena's works because they're all really pretty. Next up we have Ballerina Wrap Top by Alexandra Tavel. It was a free pattern. I modified it to be with long sleeves that flare a little bit. I used the same yarn combination as for my shirt staple beanie, so it is 1 strand of filcolana tilia in the color 218 and 1 strand of arwetta in the color 138. This one is really pretty. It is a wrap top with very long I-cord straps. It looks really nice, but it's very unpractical. First of all, I already talked about red color not being the best for me. It also has quite a deep V, so to say, and it's very tight fitting. I have quite a sensitive skin, and this year I realized that while I can tolerate mohair in sweaters, when I put something underneath a sweater like a tank top or a t-shirt or a long sleeve, for something really tight fitting where I can't put anything underneath, mohair just doesn't work for me. It irritates my skin, it feels really hot and uncomfortable. The fluff is all over the place, I start sneezing, I have rash on my skin, so just not the best experience. And this was the first project when I started thinking about it, so even though it looks really pretty on pictures and when I look at it, the stitches are just really nice and the color is nice and the finishing is really nice, but because I don't wear it, because I don't like it, I'm thinking about unraveling it and making myself a sleepover, for example. I think a v-neck sleepover will be a little bit more comfortable and practical for me because I feel like it won't be too bright and won't be making my face even more red, but I'm not sure, I haven't decided yet. This was my disappointing project number 4, I think. Next one we have an accessory. It is a brioche scarf by Garn. It is a Norwegian designer. She has a lot of lovely patterns. It is a very nice scarf knitted in brioche stitch and shaped with some decreases and increases. Looks really lovely, knitted in one strand of Cardiff Cashmere Classic in a color 670. Very lovely yarn, very lovely color, very lovely pattern, highly recommend. Don't wear it that often because for some reason my neck is quite sensitive towards the cashmere, so not a very good option for me, but I still put it on occasionally, like this for example, and in general very happy that I made this project. What we have next? Levitate wrap by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I started this channel by making levitate wrap. I have a project vlog for this one and it was a flop of the year, really. I talked about some of the issues in the video. So first of all, the yarn I chose was peeling quite badly. I wasn't able to tolerate it. I was really hesitant about putting it on myself because I was scared that I will ruin it because the yarn will peel that badly and all of the green fluff from the yarn will go off. I haven't mentioned the yarn yet. So I used Concept by Katya Cotton Merino in a color 122 or light green. And this yarn is really soft, but it peels a lot. And yeah, I just wasn't able to accept that and wasn't wearing it. Second issue is that it was too short, probably because I chose the wrong side, but as I mentioned, I really struggle with sizes in My Favorite Things knitwear patterns. So this was the second size, my cardigan number 8, and it was big. So with my levitate wrap, I went down a size and was knitting the smallest one, and it was too small for some reason, yeah. So I ended up not achieving the fit and look I wanted to achieve. And another thing about its fit that I mentioned in the video, it wasn't able to stay in place when I was wearing it. So some parts were just jumping up and looking a little bit weird. So yeah. Just not a success for me. I still think that it is a lovely pattern. I just really wish that I used the second size, the yarn recommended in the pattern, and the grayish color that the original sample was knitted in. I think in this case I would have ended up with a lovely piece that I would love much more than I loved my levitate wrap. I ended up gifting it to a friend and I hope my friend enjoys wearing it. Next one is Clematis sweater by Emma Meyer. It was a test knit, both the pattern and the yarn was gifted to me. I used BC Garn Summer in cashmere in the color 017 and Kremke Soul Wool Marled Silky Kit in the color 2. Lovely pattern, lovely piece, but for me it was a flop. Why? First of all, yarn. Even though summer in cashmere is 90% cotton and only 10% cashmere, for some reason it's still irritating for me. It still irritates my skin. But the silk mohair was even worse. It's super hairy. I discussed it in one of my videos. It just has like a really long hair and I had to shave it because I was trying to fix it. As I mentioned previously, with the sweaters, I can tolerate mohair only if it's not tight fitting, and this piece was quite tight fitting. I wasn't really able to put anything underneath because the corners of my underlayer were showing off, or I was just too hot in it. It was just really tight fitting and the yarn wasn't right for me. I ended up finding a new owner for this piece and I sent it all over to California, which is really exciting. Again, I really enjoyed the process. I think Emma created a really gorgeous piece and the pattern is so well written. but I don't like tight-fitting knits, so didn't work for me, unfortunately. But still highly recommend to check out Emma and to check out her patterns because she's really skilled or talented, and I admire her work. Next one is also a test knit. It is a Marco Polo by Creadia Studio. I was using Semilla Silk Bloom from BC Garn in the color 019. It was a really rough knitting process because it's knitted on 2.5mm needles. At this point, I should have stopped with test knitting and I should have said no to test knitting this piece, but for some reasons I said yes, because sometimes it's really hard to say no. It is a flop, again, unfortunately, even though I spent so many hours knitting this and I was trying really hard to get it right. What went wrong? Semilla Silk Bloom is merino wool and silk blend, but it's still merino wool mostly. It was a summer, it was really hot, and I think I felt that this yarn in many places while knitting it. It doesn't look really good. I think there were a lot of friction, so the texture is just weird. It doesn't have this silky finish to it, as I can see in the balls of yarn. Also, even though I really love brown color, this brown is like chocolate brown and I don't like it that much, and because I was ordering this yarn online, I wasn't really able to fully see what shade it is, and I realized only once I got it. From the moment I got it, I knew that it wasn't the perfect shade of brown for me, but still I finished it. Again, this piece is quite tight fitting. It means that it touches my skin. With this style, I don't think I can really put something underneath that will look good enough. Even when it's quite cold in this piece, I feel quite warm, and when you're warm and you have a sensitive skin, knitwear irritates your skin even more. So that's it. Don't know how to wear it, how to style it, when to wear it so that it feels comfortable. Don't really like how it looks. Still, very lovely pattern, very lovely designer, very lovely piece. I still enjoyed it, even though it was a little bit tough on my hands. But it just didn't work out as I hoped it would, unfortunately. And at this point, I should have really stopped test knitting. I should have started working on the projects I planned for the summer. I should have relaxed a bit, maybe even considered taking a break from knitting during summer months, because it gets really hot here. I'm usually not in really knitting mood when it's hot outside. But no, my next project was also a test knit. Oh, with this piece, I don't know what I will do. Maybe I will suggest it to my mom. Maybe I will just keep it and wait until someone would like to take it from me. Maybe some friend or family member, I'm not sure. My next piece was also a test knit. And it was a berry bikini by Woolen Knitwear. I knitted in isager 302 color powder. It was very naive of me to think that this will work, honestly. Knitted bikini. Sounds weird, right? It is weird. I really believed the designer that it would work. I was really sure that I will do everything I can to make it work, but it didn't work. I made only the bottoms. I made them fit, so I had to modify the pattern to make sure that they fit me properly, but I won't be able to use them for swimming or sunbathing because they are not stretchy. For the bikinis, you really want them to be stretchy so they hug you and they don't fall off. Isager 302, I think it's like plant yarns blend, and it's not stretchy like at all. It can't hug your body. It has these anchor straps and they can easily fall off. Like you need to retie it constantly to make sure that it stays in place. You need to like correct the fit to make sure that nothing shows off. Very uncomfortable. I decided that I won't even try attempting making the bra. Really weird project. I really hope that it will work, and I was really intrigued by it because I haven't heard about knitted bikinis before. It just sounds really interesting, and there were like this linen stitch I was trying for the first time, and the fit was really unusual. I learned a lot while knitting it, but from the product perspective it was a flop. Like it just didn't work out. It's not practical. I can't wear it. Of course, a lot of lessons learned and everything, but just in general, I was already pretty exhausted from test knitting. I was already pretty unsatisfied with my projects and feeling lost and tired and unmotivated, and yet I agreed to that test knit, which wasn't successful again. And then I took a break. Finally, I took a break from knitting. I took a break from test knitting for a very long time. I was thinking about projects that I could do that can help me to feel a little bit better. I was really missing like bigger needles, bigger gauge projects, and working with the wool. So I made a sole top by Rose Knitwear as my next project. It was still in line with the summer vibe because it was August. It was yarn that I already had in stash and repurposed from my other top. I knitted it in 2 strands of knitting for olive merino in the color bottle green. It is a really simple top with a very nice edges. It's knitted bottom up. Alice behind the Rose Knitwear is a very lovely designer and I adore her work. So I thought it's just a very nice relaxing project. I did enjoy the final product, but again, I don't know what I was thinking. 2 strands of merino for a summer top. I live in Slovenia. It's really warm here all the year round. I can't really wear it. Again, it feels really sensitive towards my skin. Because it is a top, I can't really put anything underneath it. Again, it is a flop. I ended up unraveling this piece and repurposing the yarn for the Christmas trees garland and some of my other Christmas tree ornaments. I still have a lot of that yarn, but I won't be trying to repurpose it for anything else apart from little ornaments and little things, maybe some little details for my other knits, because it wasn't the first time I was trying to use up that yarn and I don't have a lot of it anymore. Even though it was a flop, it was a very nice and refreshing project because I realized that it was a flop few months later, when I realized that I don't wear it and I can't wear it. But at that point, I finally stopped test knitting. I chose a yarn that was really nice on my hands and it was just a really nice, engaging, refreshing project for me. And the next project I made was also very nice and refreshing. So I made scarf number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. I used leftover yarn from my clematis sweater. It is BC Garn Summer in Cashmere in the color 017. The yarn Summer in Cashmere, as I mentioned, 90% cotton, 10% cashmere, still irritates my neck for some reason, for some weird reason. So I can't really wear it around my neck that frequently. Sometimes my skin can tolerate things, knitted things, but not always. So when my skin can, I wear it. When my skin can't, I don't wear it. Pretty simple. I think a lot of you have seen this project. Very nice texture scarf. Not a lot of things to say about it. The next project, one of my absolute favorites, things I have ever knitted. My poppy sweater. Yarn for this sweater was gifted by Cardiff Cashmere, and this sweater uses Cardiff Cashmere Classic in the color Life. Very perfect sweater. My lovely adorable sweater. I used Poppy Tea pattern by Petite Knit, but I modified it to be a sweater. I have a project vlog about this one on my channel where I share a lot of details about what I did to make it so perfect, if I can say so myself. Very lovely piece. It is really lightweight, so it's more appropriate for the climate I live in. It is really soft and nice, and I love this color. Sometimes I'm afraid to wear it because it is a cashmere. It is very delicate fabric and I don't want to tear it apart with very active, aggressive wear. I try not to wear it underneath my puffer or jacket or anything. So currently I'm waiting for spring to start wearing it more actively again. But still, just a very adorable piece, and I'm very happy with it. Next thing I needed was Sunday socks by Petite Knit. I used Mondial Biolana in the color 0200. I also used some leftover mohair from Isager in the color black. I gifted these socks to my mom just a few weeks ago. Realized that I'm not a knitted sock girl at all. Again, irritates my skin. My skin is sensitive all over the place, but still was a really refreshing project. I took it with me on my trip to Germany when I was visiting my friend, and it was just a very nice project to travel with. And moving on to the next project I also took with me on that trip, sweater number 18 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. Also one of my favorite projects of this year, a very lovely sweater, even though I started it in September and finished it in December because I was recovering from my traumatic experience with my knits before, so I wasn't really pushing myself to finish things and just taking my time and not knitting every day. But this is adorable sweater. I used again Mondial Biolana in the color 0340 and Isager Alpaca 1 in the color E0. So it is a merino wool held together with alpaca lace. I used lace alpaca for the first time with my cardigan number 8. It was the second time. Again, worked amazing. I really love to use alpaca instead of mohair. It makes my knitting experience much better. And I'm in love with this sweater. It's absolutely stunning. It's quite thick, so there are a lot of days when it's too hot to wear it, and I always feel really sad that I can't wear it. But now I started putting it on and wearing a very light trench coat, even though we are in the middle of the winter, and it works better. Very successful project. The next project was a pair of penny gloves. For this piece I used rosy green wool chicken merino joy in the color 135. A very nice piece of fingerless gloves, very tomato soup core like. I fell in love with this color, bought the yarn from the yarn store directly in Austria. I usually order all of my yarn because we don't really have yarn stores in Slovenia, but this one was bought on our daily trip to Austria. Very lovely, playful project. I'm very happy with it. The yarn is really lovely. Penny gloves, a classic one. No modifications. In November I made a lot of Christmas ornaments. I won't be talking about them. I have a specific video all about Christmas ornaments that I made this year. It was really fun and refreshing way to experiment with my knitting and make a lot of different small things and just enjoy the process, and it was a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to making some of the ornaments again next year. And now we have only 2 projects left. two accessories. The first one is Harriet bonnet by Milenapauliina. Very lovely bonnet. I used heavy merino by Knitting for Olive. This is color wheat and this is color fennel seed. Really love the color combination for this bonnet. Really like the result. I think in regards to the head accessories, bonnets are working the best for me. They don't touch my forehead as hats do. And as I said, I have acne, I have a very sensitive skin, so it is a plus for me. And they also don't touch my neck as balaclavas do, but they still look really cute and do their job to protect my head and my ears. So really happy with this one. And the last thing I made was modified terrazzo neck for my boyfriend. As you can see, I used the same yarn I used for my sleeves that I knitted in the beginning of the year. It is West Yorkshire Spinners, the Croft Shetland Aran in the color voxter with isager soft silk mohair in the color 3-4. I want to talk a little bit more about the yarn now. It is a 100% wool held with soft silk mohair. It has a very nice silky feeling to it. I think thanks to the wool more than to the mohair. I don't really like isager mohair because it irritates my skin and causes some allergic reaction even while I'm just working with it and also while I'm wearing it. I hope it will work for my boyfriend a little bit better than for me. But the yarn itself is just really soft. It has a very nice drape to it and I'm just really happy. If you were thinking about trying out West Yorkshire Spinners, I can really recommend you trying the Croft Shetland Aran for sure, because I'm just really happy with this yarn. Talking about the piece itself, I used the instructions for terrazzo neck, but I did few modifications. I made the back shorter just because I don't want my boyfriend to be too hot in this piece. I also went up a needle size and it created a bigger gauge, and the whole piece is a little bit bigger because I was trying to make sure that it will fit my boyfriend, and I made the larger size. I picked up more stitches for the collar and I did few more rows for the shoulders, just again to make sure that it will turn out a little bit bigger and fit my boyfriend. It has a very long twisted rib neck, which was pain to knit, but in general a very nice piece. I hope that my boyfriend will like it. It is the first ever piece I made for him and he asked for it, so yeah, I hope it will help him to stay warm. And that was my year of knitting. Of course, there were some projects that I didn't show you because I never ended up finishing them. Some of them I unraveled in the middle of the process, some of them are my current work in progresses. The piece I'm looking forward finishing the most is Wave West by Rose Knitwear. I started it in October, I'm still working on it. I chose very pretty colors, it has a very nice texture, it's such a fun knit. I have been also thinking a lot about why this year was not a very successful knitting year for me, and there are a few things I would like to highlight. First of all, this was my second year as a knitter, and I think during the first year I was just in general very optimistic about everything. I was very excited and surprised that I can make a full sweater with my hands, and I wasn't really paying attention to details. In 2023, I really started thinking more about what kind of garments I would like to make, how they fit me, how I feel in them, and I in general just started being more critical about things that I make. Second reason is that I take my clothes very seriously. I have a very small wardrobe of well-loved pieces, and as a result, every piece I welcome into my wardrobe has to meet a certain standard and a lot of expectations. As a result, if I welcome something that I'm not absolutely loving, I will just end up not wearing it at all, because why would I if I have such a gorgeous pieces that were really carefully selected by me or made by me, pieces I feel really comfortable in, I feel beautiful, I feel attractive, I feel confident. I also think that it doesn't work the same way for everyone. I'm sure that some knitters don't take their knits as seriously as I do, and they can feel pretty okay with wearing a garment just once or twice a season, and this is completely normal. And a lot of this depends also on what kind of lifestyle we have. For example, I work from home. I don't really go outside to do lots of things. I can go out shopping or for a walk. If a person is working in the office, they have a lot of outdoors activities, they do a lot of things, and they can show off their knitwear on a regular basis. They can have much larger wardrobe, or maybe they are really into fashion and they want to experiment more with their clothes. So it just depends on what kind of person you are and what kind of lifestyle you have. For me, a small wardrobe works the best. I really want to create pieces that I love absolutely and I will always feel comfortable in, and that's why I just need to learn a lesson that, for example, tight-fitting garments are not working for me, very warm garments are not working for me, and very bright colors are not really working for me. And if I learn those lessons, I think I will be more successful in my knitting. The next reason is that I just didn't have enough time to carefully choose and commit to test knits. Sometimes I made impulsive decisions, sometimes I was just not able to say no. This is also a question about boundaries and choosing yourself first and choosing your comfort first. So I just really need to be extra careful about test knits I commit to. The next reason is that during this year I was constantly realizing how sensitive my skin is actually. I think during the first year of knitting I was making mostly oversized garments, so I didn't really understand, and sometimes I was just thinking that maybe a particular type of mohair doesn't work for me, or a particular style, or maybe this wool is just particularly rustic. But in general my skin is totally fine. I can wear wool, I can wear mohair, and everything is pretty cool. But turns out it's not the case. My skin is indeed very sensitive and I need to be really cautious and careful about fibers I chose to knit with. For example, mohair doesn't work for me and I don't like working with it, I don't like wearing it, then maybe I should just not be using it, right? It's quite an expensive yarn and I think I should really opt for alpaca lace instead, because it's much cheaper, it's much more comfortable for me, and I will end up with pieces that I enjoy much more. And then of course I was discovering a lot of things because I'm still young, I'm still figuring out what I like and what I don't like. I never thought that not all shades of brown will work for me. I thought that brown is my favorite color and any shade of brown will work, but actually no. And I also accepted that sometimes a boring cream or beige can be the best choice for me. It can be really fun to try out new colors and can be really fun to make a colorful project, but product-wise, it's not just working for me always. I think the safe way to experiment with colors is to make accessories. For example, here I tried an unusual color for me and now I have a better understanding on how I like it, how I wear it, and if I would ever want a full garment in this yarn. And this was just another lesson learned this year, and now I'm definitely more picky about colors and I started spending more time on Ravelry. I like to see different pictures posted by other knitters to have a better understanding on how a certain color of the yarn will look in real life, and it does help me a lot. And the last thing I want to mention is that I just really need to accept that summer is not a knitting period for me. I didn't enjoy summer knitting the first year I was a knitter. I ended up with few tops that I had to unravel because I wasn't able to wear them. Kind of the same situation happened also this year, so maybe during the summer I just need to dedicate time to other activities that I enjoy and maybe just have one comfort project that I will be working on whenever I feel like knitting. And I think that this will be the healthier way for me to spend my summer knitting wise. So yeah, a lot of lessons learned in general, but honestly, looking back, I tried so many cool designers. I was really adventurous. I did a lot of experiments. I self-drafted things. I tried new fits, new colors, new textures, and it was just really fun. And maybe if I didn't make all of those mistakes, I wouldn't end up with so many absolutely adorable projects as well. So I guess it wasn't a completely disappointing year for me. And that was it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that you perhaps learned something new, and if so, please don't forget to give this video a like, leave a comment and subscribe to this channel if you would like to stick around. Thank you so much for watching this video. I wish you a happy 2024 and I will see you in the next one. Bye!